edition of Pegasus Test. On today's edition, we're covering the Comp M5 from Aimpoint. The Comp M5 is a red dot on the higher end of the price scale. And does all that extra money give you something extra for it? And I'm going to say yes. First of all, it's got a AAA battery power source instead of a button battery or lithium battery. But it still gives you the freaking zillion hours, I think it's like 50,000 hours of lifetime based on that. Of course, that's all dependent on the power setting. We all realize that. So basically, if you use this under a normal power setting and leave it on, it'll probably last you until you die and go to Valhalla. Anyways, great sight. And as I'm getting older, I'm starting to develop astigmatism, which means red dot sights become a cluster of cherries, and sometimes, depending on the site, figuring out which cherry is the actual dot is a bit of a challenge. Not so much with the Comp M5. I get a little distortion, but not really much. It's really crisp and really clear. Also, plays very well with night vision, which is always a bonus. I have used this sight at several matches. I've used it at Hatila 22 in Finland. I used it at Finnish Brutality 22. I used it at Desert Brutality 22. I used it at Woodland Brutality in 2023. And several local matches as well. So I feel I've put this through its paces. And you know what? It's held up surprisingly well. It looks to be in great shape. It's dirty as heck right now, but it's held up. Its functionality is there. Like I said, it plays well with night vision, plays well with water. I have intentionally immersed it in water several times, including once in a match. Worked fine, not a problem. It seems to handle the abuse quite well. On this particular model, I have mounted it on a Scalar Works mount, so I can take it off, put it back in, which it does a great job of retaining zero. You will notice I do have this black zip tie on it, and that is for just my own personal heebie-jeebies control, because the Scalar Work mount uses these ridiculously small screws, and while they seem to be holding perfectly fine and doing a fantastic job, I just put the zip strip on there just for my own peace of mind. You don't have to do this, it's not necessary. And if the Scalar Works mount is not for you, there are several other out there that'll work just as well. The sight is very accurate when combined with a magnifier. This one in particular is a primary arms. The dot is nice, crisp, and clear, and I've made hits with it as far out as 400 yards, and it does great. I had no trouble using the sight. I felt confident making the hits, and the hits came fairly easy. The sight has several different power settings. It does have night vision capability, and it can be very, very dim if you need it to in those conditions. It can also be very, very bright, especially found out in Desert Brutality 2022. This thing can be turned up bright enough to overpower the brightest sun and still be able to see your dot. The controls on the Comp M5 are simple. There's one, the rheostat, and I'm calling it a rheostat on purpose for one reason. There's no markings as to your power levels. Many sites will say, you know, N1, N2, N3 for night vision, and 1 through 12, 13, 11, whatever number system they use for their power outputs to tell you what they are visually. There are no markings like that on the Comp M5. It's a rheostat, as each click just makes an adjustment, and you kind of find out where you want to be. I have found that about half the clicks are applicable to the night vision spectrum, as my eyes aren't picking it up, and even in the dimmest lights. The settings for dim are pretty good, and I've also found in the desert that in the brightest of light you have enough range in your settings on the rheostat to get a dot bright enough that you can see no matter how bright the sun is and overpowering it is. Alright, the Comp M5 works on a rheostat. It doesn't have numbered settings, and this is the brightest setting. Next click down, next click down. And as you can see, it gets into the night vision and low settings fairly quickly. You have a greater range in dot brightness than what you are seeing on camera right now. Here in a darker setting, taking a look at the brightness settings so you can get a comparison. The clicks are very positive, and there's no doubt when you've moved from one setting to another. Alright, here we are in the red dot setting for night vision. Here we are in the night vision settings. First dot, second, third. Now we're getting to the point where in certain lighting conditions you could see that dot with the visible eye, and then all at once it starts to overpower the scope. All in all, a very usable range of options for you under night vision. Now here we see a big check box for the Comp M5, and it's its low real estate requirement on your rifle. Here I have it forward mounted on the pick rail on top of the receiver, leaving plenty of room for a PVS-14 to be weapons mounted behind it. And the Comp M5 plays well with night vision, so this is a very viable configuration for the rifle and a good use of the Comp M5. Another plus of the Comp M5 is it's ridiculously lightweight. You hold your rifle up and then you mount the Comp M5 and hold your rifle up again, and the difference in weight is imperceptible. It's that light. Here's another great illustration of the compactness of the Comp M5. I've mounted a primary arms 3x magnifier behind it, left a nice big gap in there, and if I wanted to, I could move that magnifier up and have enough room for backup iron sights. But I have so much confidence in the Comp M5, I don't waste any time with backup iron sights on this particular rifle. So the Comp M5, what's my opinion? A very solid one. I have been impressed with the fact that it is held up to brutality matches and just shaken off everything they could throw at it. I've been impressed with the fact that it can be immersed in water and work just fine with no effect on it. It seems to take the hard knocks very well, despite the fact that I put a zip strip on it. That was for my own peace of mind. The ScalarWorks mount Comp M5 combo is an excellent setup for the rifle. I have been happy with the use of it with a magnifier. I've been able to make 400 yards hits with it on the clock with relatively ease, to the point that it was almost boring. It is an incredibly good sight. It works incredibly well. It's nice and compact, thereby leaving a lot of rail space on top of your receiver open for the mounting of night vision and magnifiers and backup sights. The battery life is unquestioned, and the nice part of it, it works off a AAA battery. Now the great thing about that is no lithium, no dangerous goods problems. The airline's not going to give you that speech, do you have any lithium batteries packed in your bag? You don't have to worry about that. They seem to have found a way to make this thing use so little power that out of a regular AAA battery, you can get the same amount of battery life out as you could out of lithium batteries on older models, such as CR123 powered sights. So overall, this thing is absolutely incredible. It is expensive, beyond the shadow of a doubt. For the price of a Comp M5, you could get 2 Holosuns. Hell, with some of the deals Palmetto's been offering lately, you could get 3 Holosuns. And, you know, if that's worth it to you, and you can accept a little bit of difference between the Holosun and the Aimpoint, that might be something to go out and check out. On the other hand, if you just need the guaranteed to work no matter what, we'll go to hell and back, take all the bashing in the world, and when you finally pass on and go to the afterlife, you can take the thing with you because it still works, yeah, that's the one, it'll do it. They're charging a high price, but they're giving you the quality to go with it. Every person has to make their personal financial decision is if that extra price is worth it. Or if, for example, we're half the price, you get a Holosun, if that's more important to you to have 80%, 90% of the capability for half the price, if that works for you, wouldn't fault you for that decision. The sight is very easy to use. It was very easy to zero. All you do is screw off the caps, and there's little nubs on them that interface with the dials, and they're in half MOA adjustments. And zeroing the sight was very easy. It did not provide any problems doing that whatsoever. Overall, I am super happy. I'm going to keep using it. Mounted on this KP15 with my PEC, with my magnifier. This is one of my main go-to rifles, and I find this sight appropriate to it, and I'm glad I made the investment in it. Also, I've had the experience to use a different Comp M5, because a sample of one is just that, a sample of one. And I have a friend who has a Comp M5. Not only did he lend it to me for use, he also has used it in competitions, and he has the exact same results. The sight has held up, it takes the abuse, and it's one of the primary sights on one of his primary rifles as well, for all the reasons I just mentioned. So yeah, it's a good investment. It's a steep one, but sometimes you got to pay the price to get what you want. As they say, buy once, cry once. We hope you found this review of the Aimpoint Comp M5 helpful and informative. Please comment, like, and subscribe, and tune in for future reviews of optics.